So I recently got caught up on the Owl House, and I gotta say the show is really freaking good. For a show with only a first season so far, this show has had an amazing strong start, and all of its praise is well earned. Disney has some great shows at the moment. They're honestly just winning right now in regards to content and animation. With that being said, holy shit, why is no one talking about Amphibia? Now, if you're a viewer of my channel, you could probably tell from my reactions that I am a pretty big fan of Amphibia. But why am I a big fan of this show? This funny frog show? And what am I talking about when I say it's underrated in the title? Well, for that, I'm going to go over a few various categories on what I think makes the show good, and why I think this show definitely deserves as much attention as the Owl House. Honestly, Disney is winning with both of these shows right now, but I think we can all agree that Owl House is overshadowing Amphibia just a little bit. Not that there's anything wrong with that. The Owl House is brilliant, but I like Amphibia much more, and I think it deserves a lot more recognition than it currently gets.
Hello, you've reached the house of unrecognized talent. Please start after the...
So in generic review-esque video style fashion, let's get into the first section, and it's an important one at that. The plot. I'll be blunt with this. The plot for this show is freaking amazing. You're thrown in head first with the intro, giving you a brief rundown of the basic plot. A mysterious music box transports 3 girls to another world inhabited by sentient amphibious creatures, hence the show name. We follow our main protagonist Anne and her task to find her friends and get home as she's thrown into a lovable little town called Wartwood, where we meet other various main characters. Now, while I will admit the first season is a little slower pace, as we mostly vibe in Wartwood the whole time, but as we progress through the first season, we start getting small teases of a genuinely interesting overarching plot before they start throwing entirely plot-focused episodes at us. The plot progresses slowly but surely throughout the season up until the episode Bizarre Bazaar, the episode where, at least in my opinion, the show starts to genuinely spike in quality. It's a really good time up until this point, mind you. We mostly have fun learning about various side characters and loving the town more and more, plus some pretty important character moments. But combined with the few plot elements we've gotten up till this point in this specific episode, the show starts to take a drastic turn in the right direction as they find their pacing. Everything in this season leads up to one of the strongest season finales I've ever seen. I'm not going to give spoilers, obviously, as that's for a section later, and as I want this video to get more people to check out the show. But know that this show and its plot is something special and unique. And I'm only saying that with the first season in mind. This show becomes a whole other level of amazing in its second season, which at this point in time has had little filler and has expanded on the plot immensely, which has incredible potential where we currently stand. I mean this statement with no exaggeration. If everything in this show continues to stick the landing like they have so far, we might legit have another Gravity Falls on our hands. That opinion may be a little exaggerated since I am a bit of a stan for the show, but I think that shows how serious I am about this. Now, an interesting plot can only get you so far. Amphibia's plot is fascinating, but it would be nothing without this next section. Let's discuss what are the strongest attributes about this show and one of the most important aspects of any show, the characters.
Woo! Yeah, baby!
Oh my god! The characters in this show are so lovable. It's amazing how much charm and uniqueness every character has. All these characters have unique and diverse personalities that honestly make the show freaking great, as they all help the vibe Wartwood gives off. They all help Wartwood feel like the second home to us, a home with a really unique, enjoyable, and diverse community, despite them being slow to accept and slower to respect.
It's actually our town motto.
For main characters, we have Anne, Sprig, Polly, Hop Pop, Sasha, and Mercy. As for side characters, we have one of the current antagonists, Captain Grime, and the various citizens of Wartwood, with notable ones being Ivy and Felicia Sundew, Miss Croaker, Loggle, Sylvia, Maddie, Toady, Mayor Toadstool, and Wally! Seriously, I fucking love Wally. This guy is the Cass of Amphibia. He's just such a great, lovable lad. I love this guy. The dynamic between Plantars and Anne is honestly something special. Over the course of the show, we see the bond between the main group and Anne grow as Anne honestly becomes a member of this family.
Oh, I love the found family trope.
And the pacing is really well done with it as well. We have multiple episodes over season 1 where Anne learns about each of the Plantars by naturally spending time with them and bonding with them individually and together, even wanting to simply suffer with them because she enjoys being with them, eventually trusting them enough to give her more details about her situation via the music box. They're all on board and to help her in her goal of finding her friends and finding a way home. She becomes part of the Plantar family extremely naturally, and it's just feel-good vibes all around. For the most part,
It's just as I feared.
the main group is just incredible, and is one of the show's main highlights. Each character is extremely unique and lovable in their own right. Let's go over them individually, starting with our freaking amazing main character and best girl, don't at me, Anne Boonchoi. Anne is one of the most lovable and unique cartoon protagonists I have ever seen. She's honestly got it all. She's quirky, but not in the way most modern female leads are. She's more grounded in a sense. Hilarious and relatable as hell, and overall a really good person. She's extremely understanding and caring to those around her, and when the occasional quiet moment occurs, she fully accepts the weight of the whack situation she's in. She's trapped in another world with no knowledge on how to get home, and not to mention she's separated from her friends, which is a whole other situation she's already dealing with. Anne's overall energy makes her an extremely investing main character to watch. Her struggles and development to adapt to this new world and overall different lifestyle is very engaging as a viewer. And seeing her grow as a person over the show is honestly one of her highlights. She starts overall naive and understandably confused about her fucked up situation, but as time passes and she accepts what happened to her, she starts to become very serious in her quest on getting home. Even feeling borderline depression when the thoughts of her situation are brought up. Now that is how you write a main fucking character. Plus, it's not a total character flip, mind you. It's just something added to her already fun as hell character. She becomes a really good balance of fun and serious.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
And that's just the first character of our main four. Let's move on to the next one, and honestly the best character of the show. While he may start off as boomer humor trademark, as he gets more attention early on in the show, he becomes by far one of the best characters in the show. He's surprisingly relatable with genuinely dark existential humor that happens to be some of the best jokes in the show, because existence is painful. We learn more about him as he has a surprising amount of episodes dedicated to him so far. But it all makes sense as he has extremely intriguing plot involvement that starts early on in the show, similar to Stan from Gravity Falls. Hopediah knows something, and by doing this, he becomes easily one of the most investing characters. Having a character like Hop Pop really helps fans get interested in the show when big mind-shattering episodes like a finale aren't happening. Small moments here and there to keep a community invested in a mystery and theorizing plays out really well in the long run. And the best part about Hop Pop is that he's more than just the big mystery character. He's an extremely kind-hearted and old, understanding frog.
You're old.
And he just wants the best for his family and Anne. And he has flaws, too, as he sometimes makes extremely rash and harsh choices. It really helps him feel incredibly realistically written. He's like any other person. He has pros and cons, flaws and insecurities.
A frog can really hear themselves think out here. Will you die alone? Well, that was a mistake.
One of the best things about our main group is that every member of the main four is extremely different. For example, Sprig is very different from his grandfather, Hopediah. They're borderline complete opposites in regards to their overall energies. And speaking of Sprig, let's talk about the good lad. Sprig, aka Nate from Infinity Train, is a certified good lad. His dynamic with Anne especially is amazing, as they bounce off of each other really well. Over the course of the show, you get to witness these two become best friends extremely naturally with a really good and wholesome dynamic. Sprig works really well as a co-main character to Anne.
Hey, Ann, not to pick a fight, but I think I'm the show's main character. What? Yeah.
He's got a lovable as hell personality, he's funny as fuck, much like a lot of characters in this show, and he has a genuine musical talent with his fiddle. What a lad, look at him! He may act a little immature at first, but over the show we watch him grow and take the things happening in his life more seriously. He is a child after all, so we can't cut him some slack, but it is nice to see him grow and such. Overall, a compassionate, fun-loving lad with a great sense of adventure, which the show expands upon in multiple episodes, so bonus points. The one in the bucket. In all seriousness, I don't have much to say on Polly at this point in the show, but I will say that this ball of pure chaos is an absolute gem. The show's really morbid sense of humor meshes honestly the best with her, even though she's the literal toddler of the group. And you've probably noticed when I talked about the main characters, I mentioned comedy a lot. And that's no mistake. Let's talk about this show's comedy. Gonna be blunt here. This is one of the funniest fucking shows I've ever seen. The lovable characters and comedic timing with all the characters' various unique energies and delivery legitimately make some incredible comedy. Here's some of my personal favorites.
How many games have you beaten? Did it ever get dangerous, Hop Pop? Have you killed a man, Hop Pop?
Don't stare into the abyss, Ann. After all, it stares back. I don't feel safe.
He said it! He said it!
The show has a really morbid and dark sense of humor that can also amplify the danger of some of the situation the characters end up in. Like, I know this show is generally talked about as, look at the funny frog show, look at them being frogs, look at them go. But in reality, some of this show is fucking horrifying. And that honestly makes it hilarious. Because this show could throw the most fucked up situation at you on a regular basis and make it pure comedy.
Comedy is subjective, Murray.
The chemistry between the main characters really works at making the humor great as they all blend with each other and bounce off of each other extremely naturally. It's honestly great. The show kills me from laughter on such a regular basis. I wish I could say more about the comedy other than this, but the best way to understand what I'm talking about is to witness it yourself.
At least the party's lit now, Ann!
Maybe you're not convinced yet. In which case, allow me to talk about what makes this show higher quality than most other shows. The show has an extremely strong sense of continuity and world building. Simple lines at the beginning of an episode can have relevancy later down the line, and it's done in a way that isn't intrusive. For example, early on, there's a joke about Sprig being engaged to the absolute demon child known as Maddie, and this is referenced multiple times before an actual episode tackles the problem in general. Newtopia is name-dropped in Fiddle Me This, and we physically go there in Season 2, having a whole arc about it, actually. The sense of world building honestly helps the land of Amphibia feel very vast, which is good considering this is an entire world for our characters to explore, basically. Despite being stuck in the valley for all of Season 1, we see a lot of various unique locations that constantly adds to the world we've been thrown into, let alone in Season 2 when we leave the valley, and the whole world basically opens up. It's basically like the beginning of Breath of the Wild, where the Great Plateau is this massive area you spend a lot of time in and explore, but when it's time to leave, you go, whoa, holy shit, there's a lot more to this than I could have expected. Honestly, that's the best example I could give in regards to the transition of Season 1 to Season 2 when it comes to world building. And even currently, where the show left off, they're still building and adding to the world immensely. The writers take literally every opportunity they can to expand on and add to this world to make it feel as vast and full of mysteries and adventure as much as possible. And the best part is, you can tell by watching the show the creators are having an absolute blast making it. The show has so many random references and cameos that just add to the experience. Various movie references,
Fly, you fools.
Nintendo and other popular video game references,
Now that's taste.
a whole crossover episode. Kermit the fucking Frog makes a guest voice actor appearance. Like, come on, this was meant to be! It's hard to say much more without going into spoiler territory, but there is one more non-spoiler element of the show that I've been neglecting. Holy shit, the music! Let me just make it clear right off the bat. Music is important in any piece of media, and Amphibia knocks it out of the fucking park. Like, every original piece of music is incredible. From the absolute bop of the intro to the super relaxing outro. Just, my god, the music makes you feel good. Fun, entertaining montage music, really nice, peaceful music when you just vibe into Wartwood. Basically the whole episode of Hop, Pop, and Lock from its unique montage music.
Sylvia, I'm gonna win your heart, babe, when you see my froggy booty on the dance floor.
And the dance battle music. And the blatant bop called Flight of the Moth. Like, holy shit, have any of you actually listened to this thing without the audio from the episode in the background? Straight fire. The show's original music is all really good and fitting for every scene, helping set the mood, ranging from overall fun times to absolute tragedy. And then there's the one scene in the show so far where they use a real life song. Holy shit. With that in mind, for this next section, we're gonna have to go into more detail about the show. Gonna throw up a big spoiler warning for Season 1 in general and what's currently out for Season 2 right now. Skip to this time to avoid spoilers. Much like Gravity Falls, whenever Amphibia is given the opportunity, this show is an emotional tour de force. They go legit non-mercy with some of this stuff. This is one of those shows that makes you hurt. The climax of the Season 1 finale is a good example to start with, where shit gets crazy, as Anne is forced to tackle the problem of her and Sasha's toxic relationship head-on, in a sword fight, as all friendship disputes should be. For one, I really gotta give Amphibia credit for even tackling the topic of toxic friendships to begin with. That's a tough topic, and the show portrays it really well. In the Season 1 finale, Anne and Sasha's friendship becomes more damaged if anything, as it sits in a weird state of actual purgatory after the insane shit that happens in this episode. The show does an excellent job of showing how weird the situation is, showing both the good and bad sides of Sasha, as well as the aftermath that her actions had on Anne. The show does not sugarcoat it in the slightest how the effects of a toxic friendship / falling out can affect someone mentally. And we see Anne hurt over this in multiple scenes. Not to mention, I can't get over the absolutely flawless use of Lean On Me in this scene. It's one thing to have a song that fit the mood of a scene, but when you have the lyrics match with the story and events happening in the scene as well, you get something fucking legendary. This scene is genuinely perfect, and I could go on about it for ages. The show does a really good job at playing the long game with key moments. That way, when a reveal of something happens, it hits significantly harder. For example, over the whole show, they make it quite obvious that Hop Pop is Sprig and Polly's grandfather, yet there's no mention of the parents whatsoever up until Season 2, Episode 9. They do this on purpose, as they use this episode to make the most heartbreaking approach possible to reveal why there's been no mention up till this point. And it makes sense with the pacing as well. It'd feel out of place if Sprig opened up to Anne about this kind of information in early Season 1. But with the route the writers took, it makes sense, as Anne and Sprig have had an amazing friendship that has slowly been building over months, that allowed a level of trust to where they can talk about their mothers and how it emotionally affects both Anne and Sprig. Genuinely a beautiful moment. The dynamic with these two is top tier. In the very first episode of the show, Anne's eyes glow blue for roughly 3 to 5 frames, and this was not only enough to send the fandom into a frenzy with theories, but it's also a relevant plot point as it's brought back up in Season 2, being a lot more obvious this time. We still don't know what's up with the eye glowing currently, but considering the other examples of eye glowing with both Sasha and Marcy in the show so far, it's quite obvious that they're going to be connected to the main plot.
Coincidence? I think not!
Also want to point out how freaking amazing the execution with the eye glows have been. Aside from Anne's very obvious example in the Season 2 premiere, the other scenes of eye glowing have been way harder to notice. Even I missed a couple of these on initial watching. Sasha's eye glow in Reunion is extremely hidden, borderline impossible to spot.
See? You see? Well, you don't see it? Right there!
And Anne's Season 1 eye glow and Marcy's eye glow is a blink and you'll miss it moment. The way they've handled it so far has been honestly amazing. There's a lot of potential here and I love it. Oh yeah, speaking of Marcy, the writers also played the long game with her. She isn't even in season 1 at all, as she's thrown drastically farther away from Anne when the music box was used. The writers had the balls to not introduce a main character until season 2. Imagine if the show got canceled after season 1. We would have never gotten to meet arguably one of the best characters in the show. And it's quite obvious that the writers are still planning something with her if we look at the season 2 intro.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
And it's honestly really amazing watching the story play out. And it's been planned out since the beginning as well. This was confirmed by the creator in an AMA, so we have no concerns honestly of an absolute tragedy occurring in regards to the story's quality. It's very obvious that by watching the show, Matt Braley cares about making Amphibia and the story he's telling. This guy is such a fun person too, which adds to it. One of the reasons we all love Gravity Falls is because Alex Hirsch has such a special, fun, chaotic energy to him.
You deserve a prize! Here, have a head that's always screaming!
Without Alex, Gravity Falls simply wouldn't have been the show we all know. A show is nothing without a showrunner that cares and has a lot of passion, and Matt Braley is exactly this with Amphibia. The story is even attached to a personal experience of his, so you already know this guy is going to go full force with the story he's telling. Much like Alex, Matt also likes to have fun with his fans by doing shit like making memes regularly and even going as far as making an Amphibia Direct to announce upcoming episode titles in a fun and unique way to his fans. What a guy! He really gets us! If you haven't seen the show and anything in this video has convinced you to check out the show or at least has you intrigued about it, now is the perfect time to catch up on the show, as it is currently in the middle of a hiatus in its 2nd season, returning soon for weekly releases. All of Season 1 is currently on Disney Plus, and Season 2 will likely be added when the season finishes, because Disney Plus is stupid for this for some reason.
Why are you the way that you are?
The show has a lot more to tell to its story, and if you haven't seen it yet, I highly advise doing so. Because I think this criminally underrated gem of a show is going to be one of animation's greats, like Gravity Falls. Thanks for bearing with me with this obviously very different kind of video for this channel. I have a lot of review video ideas planned, and I hope I did good on my first one with this. I would really like to make review-esque videos a regular thing alongside my reactions, obviously. Give me a chance to talk about shows in full detail, or even talk about shows I didn't have the option to react to in the past. I care about Amphibia a lot, and I simply had to make this video, and to hopefully bring the show more attention, the attention it deserves. Granted, my channel is small. I doubt that this video will have any form of impact. Hope you all enjoyed this review-esque video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.